Question 1. Given the circumstances, a Citrix administrator notices that users connecting from remote locations are experiencing long logon times during peak hours. Citrix gateway is properly configured, but the WAN link utilization is high. Which optimization technique should be prioritized to reduce logon time without upgrading bandwidth? Implement Citrix profile management with profile streaming. B. Deploy additional delivery controllers in remote locations. C. Enable session pre-launch for frequently used applications. D. Switch from MCS PVS for desktop delivery. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Profile streaming under Citrix profile management loads parts of the profile on demand, reducing logon delays without requiring bandwidth upgrades. B. Adding delivery controllers remotely might not resolve WAN contention without profile optimization. C. Session pre-launch speeds application start, not initial logon profile load. D. Switching to PVS may improve provisioning performance but will directly address user profile loading delays over the WAN. Question 2. From a practical standpoint, during a quarterly update cycle, Istasync places several VDAS into maintenance mode to apply patches. However, some users still connect to these machines. What is the most likely cause? A. The VDAS were not restarted after applying maintenance mode. B. The delivery group is set to ignore maintenance mode for certain connections. C. The affected machines are in a different machine catalog. D. The site database is in read-only mode. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Delivery groups can be configured to override maintenance mode for specific scenarios, such as administrative testing or persistent user assignments. A maintenance mode does not require a restart to take effect. C. Different machine catalogs do not bypass maintenance mode if they are part of the same delivery group. D. Database read-only mode affects configuration changes, not machine availability. Question 3. By evaluating the resource utilization reports in Citrix Director, Alvarez sees that application launch times are increasing after implementing a new Citrix policy limiting maximum concurrent sessions per user. Which factor likely caused this? A. Session lingering not being configured. B. Storefront load balancing misconfiguration. C. Session pre-launch being disabled due to the policy. D. Delivery controllers in high latency regions. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Limiting concurrent sessions can disable or conflict with session pre-launch, forcing new sessions to be fully initialized and increasing launch times. A. Session lingering maintains app sessions but doesn't directly reduce launch time unless paired with pre-launch. B. Storefront load balancing issues affect connectivity distribution, not necessarily launch delay due to session policy changes. D. Latency from delivery controllers would be independent of concurrent session restrictions. Question 4. While examining Citrix Studio, Istokolsky notices that a delivery group is serving applications from machines spread across 2 data centers. Failover between data centers is slow when one site becomes unavailable. What configuration change can improve failover speed? A. Implementing OptimHDS routing. B. Configuring connection leasing. C. Adjusting load evaluator settings for faster reassignment. D. Setting up zones with preferred resources. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. Zones with preferred resources enable faster site failover by prioritizing resources in one location and automatically redirecting users when it becomes unavailable. A. Optima HES routing optimizes data flow, not failover logic. B. Connection leasing helps during database outages, but not physical site failover speed. C. Load evaluator tweaks affect session distribution, not cross-site failover time. Question 5. The core principles of Citrix profile management recommend excluding certain folders from synchronization to reduce profile size. Which type of folder is best excluded to improve login performance without affecting application settings? A. Application data roaming folders. B. Temporary internet files. C. Registry hives. D. App data roaming Microsoft templates. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Temporary internet files are volatile and can be regenerated, so excluding them reduces profile size and logon time. B. Roaming application data often stores critical user settings and should not be excluded. C. Registry hives are essential for profile integrity. D. Templates folder may contain application templates, and excluding it may disrupt certain user functions. Question 6. In light of recent developments, is Portos tasked with delivering applications to a new contractor group requiring restricted access to specific apps without affecting existing delivery groups? What is the most efficient configuration? A. Create a separate machine catalog with restrictive policies. B. Use application groups with access control for contractors. C. Implement a new delivery controller for contractor sessions. D. Assign apps via storefront keyword filtering only. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Application groups allow grouping apps with specific access permissions without altering existing delivery groups or machine assignments. A new machine catalog is unnecessary unless contractors need distinct OS builds. C. Adding a delivery controller for this purpose is excessive. D. Keyword filtering only affects storefront display, not actual access control. Question 7. Throughout the course of the Citrix environment upgrade, the delivery controller service fails to start after a database migration. Logs indicate authentication errors to the SQL server. What is the most likely cause? A. The database user account password was changed without updating Citrix services. B. The SQL server version is incompatible with the delivery controller version. C. Citrix services were not granted full administrative rights on the delivery controller. D. The storefront server failed to re-register with the database. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Delivery controllers authenticate to the SQL database using a service account, and a password change without updating the service credentials causes startup failures. B. SQL compatibility issues would appear before migration completion. C. Administrative rights are not required for service startup if SQL authentication is configured. D. Storefront does not directly register with the site database. Question 8. Considering the evidence ISTA is troubleshooting slow application enumeration for users in a branch office, the storefront server is centralized and WAN latency is high, which solution best addresses the delay? A. Deploy a storefront server in the branch office. B. Enable workspace control for faster app reconnection. C. Switch TCP-based ICA traffic instead of OT. D. Increase session pre-launch timeout. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Deploying storefront closer to branch users reduces enumeration delay caused by WAN latency. B. Workspace control speed session reconnection, not enumeration. C. Switching ICA transport protocol may affect performance but not storefront enumeration speed. D. Increasing pre-launch timeout affects idle sessions, not initial enumeration. Question 9. Under the assumption that a Citrix administrator is configuring machine creation services for a pooled desktop environment, which storage consideration is most critical for performance? A. The size of the base VM template. B. App's capacity of the storage hosting the differencing disks. C. Number of delivery controllers in the site. D. RAM allocation on the hypervisor hosts. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Wait. This seems mismatched. For MCS, differencing disk types capacity is critical for redirect performance in pooled desktops. A. Template size matters for provisioning speed but not ongoing performance. C. Delivery controller count impacts redundancy, not storage performance. D. RAM allocation affects VM capacity but storage bottlenecks directly hit user experience. Question 10. When analyzing a Citrix gateway deployment, is Roberts finds that external users cannot launch desktops despite successful authentication. Star servers are online and the firewall is open. Which is the most probable cause? A. The Star servers are not configured in Citrix gateway settings. B. The VDA firewall is blocking HEX traffic. C. Session reliability is disabled on delivery controllers. D. The NetScaler appliance is in transparent mode. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. If a NetScaler Citrix AG is in transparent mode. It may not properly handle star ticket validation for ICA launches, leading to failures despite successful authentication. A. If star servers were unconfigured, authentication would fail earlier. B. VDA firewall issues typically prevent all connections, internal and external. C. Disabling session reliability affects resilience, not initial launch. Question 11. Demonstrated by recent performance monitoring, Istavega notices intermittent spikes in CPU usage on the delivery controllers during peak hours. Which adjustment is most likely to reduce this load without adding hardware? A. Offload authentication to storefront using pass-through. B. Reduce the polling interval for the SUL database. C. Enable connection leasing for off-peak times. D. Move director monitoring to a separate server. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. Director can consume significant resources when many administrators monitor sessions simultaneously. Hosting it separately prevents it from burdening delivery controllers. A. Pass-through affects user authentication flow, not CPU spikes from monitoring and brokering. B. Reducing SUL polling intervals increases, not decreases, EPU edge. C. Connection leasing reduces dependency on SUL but doesn't address EPU spikes from director activity. Question 12. Taking into account the need for faster provisioning in a lab environment, Wallace decides to test machine creation services with thin provision storage. Which risk must she mitigate? A. Increased boot storm impact due to storage IOPS limits. B. Reduced image compatibility with older VDAS. C. Loss of profile persistence between sessions. D. Storefront enumeration delays for published desktops. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Thin provisioning can create boot storm performance issues since shared storage must handle simultaneous IOPS demands. B. MCS image compatibility depends on hypervisor and OS, not storage provisioning type. C. Profile persistence is unrelated to storage provisioning. It's handled by profile management. D. Storefront delays are typically tied to authentication or enumeration processes, not provisioning. Question 13. In a modern context of hybrid work, Hassan needs to ensure remote users connect to VDAS in their geographic region to reduce latency. Which configuration best meets this need? A. Use Optima HES routing with Citrix Gateway. B. Enable workspace control for remote sites. C. Configure GLB to out based on client IP. D. Use localhost cache for each remote office. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. GLB, global server load balancing, can direct users to the nearest site using client IP, minimizing latency. A. Optima HES routing controls like a traffic path but not initial site selection. B. Workspace control affects session reconnection, not geographic targeting. D. Localhost cache supports database outage resilience, not connection locality. Question 14. When evaluating the merits of profile optimization, Nakamura excludes several folders from synchronization, but users report missing application settings. What is the probable cause? A. App determining folder was excluded. B. The exclusion list was not replicated to all delivery controllers. C. Temporary files folder exclusion was applied incorrectly. D. Folder redirection policy was disabled. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. App determining contains many application settings. Excluding it can cause loss of user-specific configurations. B. Delivery controllers don't control profile exclusion lists. If this is policy applied to VDAS. C. Temporary files exclusion wouldn't remove persistent settings. D. Folder redirection helps move certain data, but disabling it wouldn't cause this symptom unless those settings were being redirected. Question 15. By comparing MCS and EVS deployment strategies, which factor most strongly favors PVS in a high-scale environment with frequent reboots? A. Faster boot performance via streaming disk images. B. Simplified template image management. C. Better compatibility with hypervisors. D. Reduced licensing complexity. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. PVS streams a single shared image, minimizing storage redirect bottlenecks during mass reboots. B. Template management is easier in both MCS and PVS with proper processes. C. Hypervisor compatibility is similar for supported platforms. D. Licensing complexity is unrelated to provisioning method. Question 16. In an effort to maintain high availability, Mr. Ortega configures two delivery controllers. During a simulated outage, sessions fail to broker despite one controller being online. What likely caused this? The remaining controller is not listed in the VDA registry settings. B. The storefront server is offline. C. Localhost cache was disabled. D. The SQL server was using mirroring instead of clustering. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. VDAS must have all delivery controller addresses in their registry for failover to work. B. Storefront issues affect user logon, not VDA to controller communication. C. Localhost cache helps during database outages, not controller failover if VDAS cannot contact the remaining controller. D. SQL mirroring affects database availability, not direct controller reachability. Question 17. To better understand session launch failures, Patel checks Citrix director and C star ticket validation errors. Which is the most likely cause? A. Incorrect star server entries in Citrix gateway configuration. B. The VDA version mismatch with the delivery controller. C. Expired SSL certificates on the storefront server. D. Storefront server load balancing misconfigured. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Star ticket validation requires the gateway to have correct star entries matching those used by storefront. B. VDA version mismatches cause registration issues, not star ticket errors. C. Expired store for SSL certs block ATEs but don't directly cause star mismatches. D. Load balancing affects availability, not star ticket validation. Question 18. In terms of optimizing roaming user profiles, which Citrix profile management setting most reduces logon time while keeping full profile availability? A. Profile streaming. B. Local caching of mandatory profiles. C. Folder redirection of all user data. D. Excluding appdeallokaltemp. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Profile streaming loads only essential profile components at logon, fetching the rest on demand, balancing speed with access. B. Mandatory profiles are read-only and unsuitable for full availability. C. Redirecting all data can overwhelm the network and break certain app configurations. D. Excluding temp files improves performance marginally but not as much as streaming. Question 19. In summary of troubleshooting slow enumeration times, Mr. Chen suspects that storefront is querying too many resources per user. Which configuration could most effectively reduce enumeration delay? A. Restrict resource filtering with keyword filters. B. Increase storefront timeout thresholds. C. Disable workspace control for all users. D. Enable session pre-launch. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Keyword filters limit the number of displayed resources, reducing enumeration load. B. Increasing timeouts tolerates delays but doesn't improve performance. C. Workspace control affects reconnection, not initial enumeration speed. D. Pre-launch improves app launch speed, not resource listing speed. Question 20. By evaluating network performance logs, Rossi notices intermittent ICA packet loss only for remote users. The Citrix gateway is correctly configured. What is the most probable cause? A. WAN link congestion at branch sites. B. CS differencing disk corruption. C. Storefront authentication token expiration. D. Delivery controller EPU overutilization. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. ICA packet loss isolated to remote users points to WAN congestion, which directly impacts real-time protocol performance. B. Differencing disk corruption would cause VM issues for all users. C. Token expiration causes session launch failures, not mid-session packet loss. D. High EPU on controllers affects brokering, not established ICA data flow. Question 21. While it is true that machine creation services simplifies provisioning, Mr. Bowman's environment suffers slow image updates during peak hypes usage on the SAN. What approach could alleviate the issue without moving to different provisioning method? A. Schedule image updates during off-peak hours. B. Increase CPU resources on the hypervisor hosts. C. Use app layering for faster template deployment. D. Configure GLB to route provisioning traffic. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. MCS updates heavily hit storage IPs. Scheduling during off-peak hours avoids contention. B. EPU resources won't solve storage bottlenecks. C. App layering changes delivery method but not necessarily storage strain. D. GLB manages user traffic routing, not storage provisioning workload. Question 22. When presented with a requirement for high availability of the Citrix license server, Rainer suggests implementing a backup server. What is the correct design consideration? A. The backup license server automatically takes over without admin intervention. B. Both servers can serve licenses simultaneously. C. The backup must be manually promoted when the primary fails. D. License files must be stored on a shared SAN for automatic failover. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Citrix license server failover requires manual promotion of a backup server. No automatic failover exists. A. This is incorrect. It's manual. B. License servers do not run in active mode. D. License files don't require SAN sharing for backup use. They can be replicated manually. Question 23. To determine whether EU registration issue is caused by firewall rules is to do checks that the correct ports are open. Which port is essential for immediate delivery controller registration? A. TCP80. B. TCP443. C. TCP80 and TCP443 combined. D. TCP80 or TCP443 depending on configuration. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. BDA registration use EEP8 HE EEP443 HE depending on whether SSL is enabled. A. Only correct if SSL is disabled. B. Only correct if SSL is enabled. C. Both open is possible but not required. A configuration determines which is used. Question 24. In comparison with persistent desktops, non-persistent pooled desktops require special consideration for user personalization. Which method best maintains personalization across sessions? A. Citrix profile management with folder redirection. B. Machine creation services full clones. C. Storing user profiles on local C drive. D. Disabling roaming profiles. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Profile management with folder redirection keeps user settings and files consistent across non-persistent desktop sessions. B. Full clones defeat the point of non-persistence. C. Local C. Storage is wiped in pooled environments. D. Disabling roaming profiles removes personalization persistence. Question 25. The underlying principle of delegated administration in Citrix Studio is to A. Restrict administrative scope to specific objects or tasks. B. Allow all administrators equal rights for redundancy. C. Assign only read-only rights to prevent misconfigurations. D. Link administration directly to ADU permissions. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Delegated administration limits access to certain objects or functions based on assigned roles and scopes. B. Equal rights defeat the purpose of delegation. C. Read-only rights are one possibility but not the principle. D. It is not directly tied to ADU permissions, though add groups can be used. Question 26. During the process of upgrading Citrix virtual apps and desktops is new and notices that director reports database not connected even though SQL is online. What is the most likely reason? A. SQL server name changed and connection strings were not updated. B. Director cache needs to be cleared. C. The delivery controller's own maintenance mode. D. Storefront service has stopped. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. If SQL's host name changes, connection strings in the site configuration must be updated, otherwise director cannot query the database. B. Cache clearing won't restore broken connection strings. C. Maintenance mode affects session brokering, not director DB queries. D. Storefront is unrelated to director's database connection. Question 27. From multiple perspectives, what is a key advantage of zones in a Citrix site design? A. They eliminate the need for global SQL replication. B. They allow resource proximity control for geographically distributed users. C. They replace the function of GLB entirely. D. They enable storefront load balancing across sites. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Zones allow preferred resource placement based on user geography, reducing latency as zones do not manage SUL replication. C. GLB handles DS-based traffic distribution and is complementary to zones. D. Storefront load balancing is unrelated to zones. Question 20. Historically speaking, why is connection leasing considered a fallback rather than a primary brokering method? A. It does not support resource enumeration. B. It cannot broker new sessions, only reconnect existing ones. C. It requires a dedicated SQL cluster. D. It cannot be used without localhost cache. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Connection leasing brokers reconnections when the database is offline but cannot start new sessions. A. It still supports basic enumeration for leased resources. C. It needs no dedicated SQL cluster. D. It is separate from localhost cache. Question 29. In the absence of a functioning localhost cache, what happens if the SUL database becomes unavailable? A. No new sessions can be brokered, but existing ones remain active. B. All existing and new sessions terminate. C. VDAS automatically cache session data locally. D. Citrix Gateway assumes brokering responsibility. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Without localhost cache, controllers cannot broker new sessions during SUL litiges, but active sessions continue. B. Active sessions do not drop unless infrastructure components fail. C. VDAS don't cache session data for brokering. D. Citrix Gateway does not handle brokering. Question 30. Examining the consequences of excessive policy filtering, ISTAN sees user logon slowed by 15 seconds. What is the best corrective action? A. Consolidate overlapping policies to reduce processing time. B. Increase the logon timeout value. C. Move all policies to a single delivery group. D. Disable filtering and apply policies globally. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Policy consolidation reduces evaluation overhead, improving logon speed. B. Increasing timeouts accepts delays but doesn't solve them. C. Moving to one delivery group may break segmentation. D. Disabling filtering removes customization flexibility.